Good morning, everyone.
Hello, everybody.
Buboy, we miss you.
Boy, hello.
Miss you
Long time no
guys.
see. Merry Christmas.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas!
Christmas.
Miss you.
Boy.
Oh my God.
Good morning.
Si G.
Anong sabi ko?
Mister. So the TV people are at the back. Just say hi to all of them.
I'll stay here.
Good morning, everyone. Hello. I'm Miss Jimena. I'm the General Manager of Inspire Studios in the Philippines. So I'd like to introduce our... by the way, I'd like to welcome everyone for coming. Thank you so much. I'd like to introduce to you our panelists. Mr. CESAR Montano, of course. Mr. John Lee. And Sir Francis Lara. I'd like all of them to say hello to everyone.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for coming. For coming out this morning to join us. And advance Merry Christmas to everyone.
It's my Christmas.
Southeast Asian.
We're grateful you're here. Thank you so much for your patience. It was Francis that was late. No. He's at the end of the line, so we can say what we want. But we're doing some important things, and it's good to have you here so we can announce it to you straight. So we have access to one another and begin the back and forth as we advance in this journey. We have multiple projects over multiple years, and every step forward is what makes the journey work. And the important thing is that we're able to set things up in such a solid foundation. This has been months in the coming up to this point. We have years that are going forward from here. So it's delightful for me to be a part of this. And this is my first time in the Philippines. Yeah, I know. I've had some close calls in the past. We do about 2/3 of our work in Southeast Asia, most of it in China. We have offices in Beijing and Shanghai. So anyway, it's great to be here, great to be a part of what's happening in the Philippines overall. But the igniter in this whole thing is ISI and Mr.
All right, magandang umaga. Good morning. Thank you so much for coming, for sharing this journey with us. So basically, it will just be a simple time together. We wanted this to be just a time where we can get to know you and you can get to know us, rising player. And basically, I hail from Iloilo, graduate. I now live in Palawan, but I'm based in the U.S. So I go back and forth with my family. And so basically this morning we'll just share about our projects and where we are in the stage, and also share a little bit about the company, Inspire Studios. And then we will give you guys a chance to ask the best questions that you have, so we can get to know each other better. I'll start?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, as John mentioned, Inspire Studios actually is based in California, but we also have a incorporation here in the Philippines based in Palawan. And we only make movies that are inspiring in nature, and the goal is to impact people's lives. So basically, we want audience, when they come, they watch a movie, they are not only entertained, but they go beyond being entertained. They actually come out feeling better. I just heard over the radio today that there's 4 superhero movies that will be coming up in 2020, and a lot of people they love watching superhero movies, but we are creating not a make-believe superhero movies, because we are actually telling you stories of actual heroes who live. The uniqueness of this is the stories came from the Philippines, but they are stories of Americans and Filipinos in their heroic acts together. So that really is the ethos of the company. You know, it's about movies that inspire people to do something great with their lives and to impact the entire bigger community. So we have, as you can see from the background, we have 4 movies in the slate, and both Freedom Fighters, which is co-produced with Senator Pacquiao, both Freedom Fighters and Palawan are actually part of, you know, they're deep in the development now, and we are now transitioning from, you know, a screenplay into a director-ready screenplay. And then Open Doors and The Rescue, you know, we know of a little bit of the stories of these two. This is actually the opposite of Quezon's Game. Quezon's Game is about, you know, President Quezon and the great man he is. In fact, you know, Mr. Ricky Avancenia, right there at the back, if he could stand, he's actually our consultant for Open Doors. And this will be focusing more on the Jewish families that President Quezon helped, as opposed to President Quezon himself. Oh, it's the other side of the story, all right? And then The Rescue, we know the story of the rescue. Miss Gracia Burnham, they were rescued, they were abducted in Palawan and rescued from Mindanao. We know the story of the rescue, but we don't know the story of the rescuer. This is the story of the rescuer. And he is a Filipino hero, a young captain, PMA graduate. So these are great stories, and I'm gonna go back to Palawan. Palawan is about the, if you've been to Palawan, Puerto Princesa, there's a prisoner of war camp there. And that prisoner of war camp there in World War II, 150 Americans were burned alive. 11 of them survived. And those 11 survived because of the Palawan Bolo Battalion. And so this story will not be only focused on the story of the Americans, but also the special participation of the Palawan Bolo Battalion. So we can see, makikita natin the connection that these movies will not be your typical Hollywood World War II movies where, you know, the glory goes to one group of people, but this is actually a global film where it will actually honor all sides of the story, both the Filipinos and the Americans. And lastly, this one is closest to my heart because basically the Freedom Fighters is a story based on a book called The Guerrilla Wife. And this is a story of a group of Americans who were in the Philippines, in Iloilo during World War II. They were doctors, they were nurses, they were preachers, missionaries. And then another group is a group of mining engineers who became guerrillas. So basically the story of this is that they decided not to surrender to the Japanese. And then eventually they got caught, they got executed. But here's the power of the story. And the story is this. And I love telling the stories because here's the power of it. It has it changed history because of what their death resulted to intelligence that reached MacArthur, and MacArthur was able to come back to the Philippines because of the intelligence that they brought to Australia when they were saved by the submarine. And so that's very powerful. But not only that, you know what's the most touching thing story about these freedom fighters is a month ago I received a call from the US Army thanking me for honoring them. Because why? This story is actually going to honor also the 741 US Army boys. I call them boys because they were 18, 19 years old who gave their lives in Iloilo. And they will be honored in the movie as well. And so the missionaries who were honored here, who are also part of the freedom fighters, are the guys who started Central Philippine University, where I graduated from, and also in Iloilo Mission Hospital, which is the first nursing school in the Philippines. So these guys, if not for them, I won't be here. A lot of great Filipino leaders in the U.S. and around the world will not be in existence if not for the legacy of these Americans. So that's the short version of all those things. You can find them on our website, but that's a short introduction of all those 4 movies.
So, I'm here to make sure that these are commercial films, and that they're successful. And the thing that really separates these movies from other movies that are made in the Philippines by Philippine producers is that they're made for the global audience. So there are 100 million people in the Philippines, it's a pretty aggressive marketplace and it's awesome. And yet, if we're producing from the global marketplace, we're looking at 2.5 billion people out of the 7.6 billion people that are on the planet. And these are aggressive consumers of motion pictures, and no one knows how to exploit the planet better than America. The United States film industry has made a science out of making motion pictures that go into global release. And they do it assuming in the front end that the pictures will only make about 1/3 of their income in North America, the United States and Canada. 2/3 of the income is going to come from the rest of the world. So they have to have a level of entertainment that surpasses what they might do just for their own country. So it's no surprise that in the Philippines, pictures are made for the Philippine audience, about 100 million people, and they have a certain amount of investment that correlates to the amount of income. It's just simple math. In the United States, we can invest much heavier than North America would make sense for. And so that's what's going to happen in the Philippines. We're spending as much on development of these motion pictures, each of them, as most producers in the Philippines would spend on producing the movie. And we're doing that so that we can spend about mid 8 figures on each production budget. And so it's a high production budget, but we're going to receive a commensurate amount of income from the global marketplace. This is set up in the beginning with the major 9 global territories, which the Philippines isn't even a part of. But we are catering to the Philippines because the pictures originate here, and this is Francis's home, and it's an important marketplace as well. We had a meeting yesterday with the local distributor, I think the largest in the Philippines, and we're just keeping updated so that they know where the projects are and how they're advancing. But there's a certain structure that pictures like this go through no matter who is producing them. And they start out by getting distributors on board and say, yes, we can put this on a release schedule that's 2 years out, or 1.5 years out, or maybe even 3 years out. They make the decision based on what the movie's about and how it will appeal to their particular territories. And we give them a short list of directors, a short list of actors, the ones that haven't made arrangements for to be in the pictures yet. And they make decisions around their comfort with those and the value they believe it will have in their particular territories. France, Germany, Japan, important market, and the rest. So, all of that to say, that's my job. And the big announce today, if I was a member of the press, the big thing that's different, maybe the sea change that's happening, is that there has finally arrived a production company in the Philippines, from the Philippines, that has set their flag on this mountain. We are going to release for the first time a Philippine production company, global motion pictures. We're going to produce them, develop and produce them in the way that global motion pictures have to be developed and produced in order to succeed. We're going to raise more capital on able shoulders. We're going to move them forward to compete in the marketplace and to succeed. And the success is measured not just in being financially viable, but it's also in moving, which always happens when a nation moves their productions into the global marketplace. We're going to take with us the Philippine people. We're going to show this culture for what it really is, who the people are, tell the great stories. And for us, this is exciting. I remember our first meeting over a year ago with Francis sitting around a conference table in Santa Barbara and saying, we're going to do this. The Philippine people are really, this is an important culture. And I'm going to prove it to you because listen to this story. And then listen to this story. And he had 3 stories just then that he pitched, but they were all really amazing. Powerful stories about a very important people that are on the planet that almost that very little is known about outside of the Philippines. So this is a big deal, and the momentum is past the idea stage and the capital raise stage and so forth. Now we're in final development on 2 of these 4 pictures. So as the scripts have come together, it's a big process. We understand how long scripts work in order to become shooting scripts in the Philippines, kind of like China. You know, we mentioned the ratio, a third of the income in North American pictures come from North America and the rest out. In China, which is a huge market, very, very viable market, and growing expansively, they earn about 4 to 6% of their income from every motion picture. It's really a small portion, not really too much different percentage-wise in the Philippines. And so that's a comment. When you make that leap, where you're going to earn most of your money outside of your territory, it's a big deal, but it's an exciting proposition, and it's underway, and it's received really solid support from all the major territories outside the Philippines, and people are ready for us to succeed. So, thank you for being here. When we have questions on more details, of course, but that's my intro.
So, what did you say something?
Sir, for this, just started shooting, or are you going to start shooting? And is CESAR the only Filipino actor confirmed to be in the cast of Freedom Fighters?
Everybody take the first part? So after a distributor is set up, we have a bank already. The production money the development money is provided by independent investors. The production money all comes from the industry itself. So we have major distributors in the different territories that put up the collateral, and then we take that collateral to the banks. We have a major multinational bank that's in LA that's doing our banking in this. We have also a completion guarantor, a bonding company that guarantees that the picture will be done on budget and on time so that the collateral is viable. And the money comes, production money comes from the bank. So there's kind of this process that you go through, and the script is the most important part of the whole process. Until you have a script that really is strong enough to give everyone's confidence in that process, you are stalled out there. And that's really why we raise funds in 2 separate tranches. The first being development, because the script for global pictures takes anywhere from 18 months to 4 years. Just the script. And it isn't done until it's done. It really has to be strong. So, and it's very expensive. Typically multiple writers and so forth. And since we don't know exactly what the cutoff date is, you can't have a burn rate, an expense rate that's mounting up for your production team. So those things have to be separate. So as far as production timing is concerned, we now have a budget or a script. The Freedom Fighter script is very, very close. We may be in the midst of the last draft for that script that could be delivered as early as 3 or 4 weeks from now. Let's just say the first of the year. If that's ready, then we create a campaign, like a 15-second commercial or a 2-minute trailer that we give to distributors so that they can get a feel for the emotional intensity of the motion picture after it's completed, even though that is at least a year away. So when we go into the distributor meetings, we take the script, we take the director and actor shortlist, and we take our schedule, and we take those meetings. Once the distributors sign off, which usually happens 4 to 6 weeks, if the script in fact is ready, which we make sure it is before we go in. And then the director is set at that point, which takes another about 6 weeks, sometimes 8. And then once the director's on, the rest of the actors are set, and then we set our production schedule. So if we have it the 1st of 2020, we may be in production by the middle of the year on that picture. And the other one, Palawan, which is also very close, a really powerhouse screenwriter. Freedom Fighters, this is the 4th or 5th screenwriter that's brought this high dimensions, this script up. With Palawan, we invested in an extraordinarily strong writer to begin with, and to our thrill, this writer has been able to notch it up each draft. So we still are just with one writer on this one, and he may be able to finish it up, and that would probably be January or February. And then the same kind of schedule after that. So the two pictures could overlap one another in production, but they would be going about the middle of the year, second half of the year, and then released maybe the end of 21, something like that. So you might say, oh, well, we've got lots of time. But still, for us on the ground, it's really a lot of intense work that it takes it to each set. If we were just going to one territory, it would be way easier and way less expensive.
Just a little clarification. MANNY Pacquiao is also in the cast of Freedom Fighters, isn't he?
Yes.
He's also making a movie about Philippine hero. There might be a little confusion about identifying which movie is in and what role is playing. Maybe you can talk about how CESAR was chosen for what role.
I don't think the other movie is set for global release, and when I say that, they go to the global diaspora of the Philippine people. So those people who are living outside, just like the China pictures do, they don't earn very much money. They're not set as wide release pictures. Not set as wide release pictures in the other territories.
Maybe Francis can.
Yeah, so the other movie that Senator Pacquiao is doing is a movie on Malvara. Okay, that's a Philippine-based production. Okay, I don't think it's a global release movie. Okay, the one that he's doing with us and he's playing Colonel Peralta is actually a global release movie. And yes, to answer the question, Mr. Montano is actually confirmed to be playing one of the main roles in the movie, and so him and Senator Pacquiao will be working closely in Freedom Fighters. And so, but if I may just add, and this is one thing that I would like for you guys to take home with you. Here's the vision, the mission, and the movement. You know, CESAR and I has gone all over the 5 states. 5 states. And I kept him in a great shape during that time. But here's the vision. Out of these 4 movies, our vision is to win the first Oscars for the Philippines. And that's the reason why we're doing this, the standard and the quality that they're doing it in Hollywood. And we're spending so much money to help ensure that. Ultimately, that's the vision, but that's not our mission. Here's our mission. And I would like for you guys to talk more about this online if you will. And the mission is this: we want to uplift, to demonstrate to the world the greatness and the goodness of the Filipino people. We have so much of those. You know, when I spoke with the ambassador of Israel on the Open Door story, he said, you guys need to start telling great stories about your own people. You have so much greatness in you, no one is telling the story, at least globally. And so that really is the mission here. While we're setting our eyes on the award, our mission is to help the world know that the Filipino is a people of greatness and a people of goodness. Because if you would have a chance to read the script of both of this too, you'll be so proud that you are part of the Filipino nation. Because if not for the Philippines, there would be no Americans who would survive during World War II. That's for sure. And if not for that, there would be no greatness in the world. You know, that's why MacArthur has to say that. You know, give me 10,000 of them and I'll conquer the world. You know, when I mentioned to you the story about the US Army, when they called me actually, and I asked them and they told me, thank you for honoring us. After I hang up with them, I literally sobbed. I cried. Like I lost a brother. You know why? I realized we're touching deep into the American psyche, into the American patriotism. Because if not, he said, if not for Colonel Peralta and the Filipino guerrillas during World War II, when we liberated Panay, we would have lost thousands of guys. We only lost 741 because that time, the moment we stepped into Panay, it was clear. And so no one knows that. No one knows that story. And it's our job, you as media, we as filmmakers, it's our job to let the people know, to let the world know the greatness. And so when we come here today for this, we come here because we want to invite you guys to the vision, to the movement. Let's put Philippine filmmaking, movies, our people on world stage. We are already on boxing. We are already on theater with Lea Salonga. We are already starting with the SEA Games performance. But we can do a whole lot more. Filipino is one of the marginalized people in the world, most marginalized. You know how I know that? How many knows Oscar Schindler? Majority of the world. How many knows President Quezon? Very few. What's the difference? He actually saved more Jews than Oscar Schindler. We just don't take the platform that's given to us to tell our great story. And we want to change that. With these films, we're rewriting history. We're rewriting the Philippine history. So I just want to add that. We just wanted to be
Familiar from CESAR?
There you go.
Well, I feel blessed being chosen to be part of this movie. First, the Freedom Fighters, thank you. And this is really a great challenge. After the Great Raid, the movie I did some few years back, this I think Freedom Fighters is a prequel of I could say a prequel or sequel of that the Great Raid. So Filipino guerrilla pa rin. But as our good producer said, we owe this to the young generation. They should know this. The greatness of the Filipinos, that how they suffered, how they gathered those courage and become a guerrilla. This is also a celebration of friendship of American and Filipino. Who knows that? How did they struggle during the World War II? Paano sila nagkasama? How did they fight and survive during those days? Ano yung nangyari doon? No, wala nagsasabi ng story. Nobody's telling that. Probably there are some intentions to do that, but worldwide, to tell it across the world, I think this is a great step now, and to be part of this is a big privilege for me as an actor, and I want really thank you for choosing me. I cannot say, it's good to say kahit walang bayad ba, sasama ako dito, pero mas maganda may bayad. Marami po ako, maraming bayarin. Maraming bayarin. Naunawaan nyo naman ako tayo. Isa lang naman tayo ng mga gastusin sa buhay. So, but this, kaya when he asked me to join him to go around different states, like last month or several weeks ago, sabi ko, sige, sama ako dyan. I'll join you, man, because this vision, mission, and movement is part of my heart also. I just had a covenant with God recently, and I said, I just do movies. Actually, apart from this, I have my own movies. I'm directing and producing also. I just finished The Blood Brothers. This is the story of, allow me to digress, sorry about this, but this is a story of our own country. Paano, even before this Islam came in, sino may-ari nito? At paano this is about the story of mga katutubo who owns the entire country before. At paano sila na-displace? At nung na-displace sila, paano sila nag-rebelde? At paano naging solusyon? Anong naging solusyon natin? So this is a partnership between me and Commission on Higher Education, CHED. So ito yung from the book The Blood Brothers, also written by Commissioner Ronald Adama. So we put it on screenplay, and we have just filmed the movie. And it's coming out very soon. Mauuna siguro dito sa freedom fighters and last man out. So this is the kind of films that we should be doing nowadays. I'm not saying wala tayong makukuha, please don't get me wrong, wala tayong makukuhang kahit na ano doon sa ibang movies na ginagawa na ibang producers and filmmakers. But this kind of films are the kind of films that the younger generation and the coming generations needed. They need it now. Yeah, thank you for having this, making an intention to put the Philippines on the map again, as far as filmmaking is concerned.
Another question, yes.
Thank you for doing what you're going to do, and but without discouraging anybody, I just wanted to know if, like, maybe Francis is aware that historical movies in the Philippines aren't really, I mean, they're not the ones that people really watch. I don't know if you're aware of that, and I don't know if it's in your plan, if you've thought of how to make the Filipinos finally come and watch movies like these.
That's why when you make movie to share the information. You make movie to inspire people. When you inspire people, they come. The only reason why people don't come is, they feel bored watching historical movies because they cannot connect. So you have to create your story in such a way that a common person, he comes in and he gets connected. And so that's where the genius is of John and his company, who is advising me in all these regards, because our goal is to, our writer, especially the writer of Palawan, when he first signed up, actually before he signed up, he asked me one question: what do you want to see when people come and see your movie? And so that's what it is, connecting to the ordinary people that, their ordinary challenges, sometimes, they cannot look beyond that and they feel, is there any hope? Guess what? When they see that, they see the movie, or they heard of a movie that will inspire them to do something bigger and greater. You know why these superheroes are making a big thing right now in the theaters? Because it inspires people to do something extraordinary. So all we have to do is to connect to our audience, because it's not about history telling, it's about story connecting. And there's nothing better to inspire people than what really transpired in our own country.
Thank you.
Or maybe we can replicate General Luna or Quezon's game kind of
Yeah.
success. Those are historical movies that was
Yeah,
really
in the-
So, how did Green Book do here? The Green Book
Green Book.
as a movie?
I think bad.
I
I think bad. Didn't do well.
Yeah. It was actually selected. It was shown in selected theaters. It wasn't.
Yeah, it's not,
a huge commercial run. So.
Well, branding has a whole lot to do with a motion picture success. And that's, the sleeper hits, movies you haven't seen, and then you discover and say, wow, this was this went out theatrically, how did I miss it? And a lot of it has to do with the way pictures branded in a certain territory. I use it as an example because the Green Book was highly successful in China. It has nothing to do, with them. It's really, when you think about the storyline, it's like, it's really, and yet the drama was powerful, and it had to do with what Francis was talking about, and that's ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Spider-Man isn't successful because Spider-Man can swing through, use his little web, whatever. Spider-Man's successful because he was nobody. He was one of us, the little people. And then he became extraordinary, and it wasn't just the fact that he had the sticky stuff and whatever. He had almost all at once muscle bound. He had courage. He had, he had this instinct to save people to whatever, kind of what Francis was talking about. But that's what these stories are. But the thing that makes these transcend that, like Green Book or like, not calculated, but the Hidden Figures, Did that do well here? No.
Not really.
They hid it from us.
That's okay. But they're stories that have extraordinary heart, that demonstrate, really pull the curtain back on people that are overlooked and marginalized in society, but they've accomplished extraordinary things. And people love those movies. They're the movies that make you sit in your seat after it's done and the credits are rolling and everybody's usually fleeing out of the theater. You sit there and think about this, and that's why there's often the after roll that says, and this is what happened after this, and this is where they are today, or whatever. But these are the kind of pictures that Francis has hit on. But they're also big pictures as far as global history is concerned. The outcome of what happened because of these people and what they did. And these people, in this case, in every case for these stories, are the people in the Philippines. This one, the woman screenwriter, I dropped her name, but I probably better not do that. Powerhouse writer, called me up late one night, weeping, crying, saying, who are these people? Who are these Philippine people? How come I don't know about them? She's written a lot of great scripts. And she said, these are amazing people. I'm so excited to be writing this motion picture, because it's going to have such a profound impact, because it tells something people didn't know about that's profoundly important, and it shows everyone who may feel marginalized or small or whatever, all we need to do is take the next step forward. It's what the trilogy, The Fellowship of the Rings, is all about. Anyway, so.
Nikki has another question.
You wear a lot of hats when you do local films.
Yeah.
Yeah. In Freedom Fires, how involved are you going to be? Are you going to be strictly an actor, or you will also be involved creatively?
Well, as far as the script and the production is concerned, producer is concerned, I'm playing specifically Reverend Delphine de Yanana. He was the one who led the American missionaries to hide in this place called Hope Vale, the Valley of Hope. They were able to hide during Japanese time for about 20 months, almost 2 years, and they got caught. So, Reverend Delphine de Yanana played a very major, important role in this entire story, Freedom Fighters.
Will you be doing anything else apart from being an actor? Will you have any contribution in the movie?
Well, I'd love to, but I'd love to be. But these are all Hollywood. They'll hire a Hollywood director and staff also. They want to do it in. This is a level up kind of thing. So we let them decide on this, and this. I'm excited. I'm excited to work with a Hollywood production again after the Great Trade. So I'm looking forward. I'm excited.
Yeah. Can you briefly tell us how you got connected with them as the director and producer, how you got to do these projects with them?
Well, I first met Mr. Francis Ho at the place of Senator MANNY Pacquiao before he fought recently. In Las Vegas. They were there talking to Manny, and they prayed for Manny before the fight. So I was there waiting also, and I met him after they had this meeting with Manny, and we talked about the project, the film. Oh, really? And he learned about the Hollywood movie I did for Miramax. Anyway, I talked briefly about the film. my experience about the film. And that's how we started everything. Yeah, that was like last July, if I remember, serves me right.
Very recent.
Oh, recent, very recent.
We're quick.
Very
We're fast.
quick, yeah. Really, Marcus na naman.
Sorry po.
Alright. Thank you. Pwede nyo na eh. Pwede nakaupo tapos shooting. Dito lang. Tara.
Freedom Fighters, kailan nag-start yung show?
Freedom Fighters, April, May.
Nagkausap na kayo ni Pacquiao?
Yeah, oo. Sinabi ko na sa kanya yun several times. At sila, nagkausap na rin sila ni Pacquiao. Ang ganda nito, maganda na to. Ang lakas ng impact nito. And napakatapang ito kasi ano to financial guru ito si Francis So. So he knows what he's doing. And he'll never go wrong kasi kapartner niya to si John Lee. Ang tagal na sa industriya ito. Mas more than 30 years na yan. And he done big films in Hollywood also. Hindi siya ordinaryong I have to Google. Para hindi ako magkamali. Pero, oo. John Lee. 2005 came out. The Great Trade. Pero mas malaki yung mas magandang role ko dun sa well, of course, challenging din yung Delphine Dayanara. I've spoken with his daughter already. Nagkantahan pa kami, na-meet ko yung daughter, nagtanong na ako ng maraming question. I met her in the US 2 weeks ago. Buhay pa yung ano na 60 plus na yung anak niyang babae. Nagkantahan pa kami ng Freedom Fighters. Yung isa naman, yung Palawan, Last Man Out, maganda. 75th anniversary nila tomorrow.
Kasama ka
sa
sa Palawan.
14. Yeah, pupunta rin ako ng Palawan. Maganda yan. Sobrang ganda ng role dyan. Yan. Anniversary, 75th anniversary, December 14. Ng Palawan, Last Man Out.
Open doors ka rin.
The Rescue. The Rescue. Maganda yung The Rescue.
Anong role mo dyan?
Hopefully, The Rescuer. Hopefully. But I met The Rescuer already. Si Kapitan.
Ilan taon na siya ngayon?
Bata pa, ang lakas pa. Kasi kailan lang nangyari yan eh. Year 2000 lang yan, ilang taon siya
Yung
noon.
kay Dan Brillante Mendoza, yung movie niya about captive na? Oo, captive.
Hindi pa. Magaling naman si Dante.
Si Isabel Huper.
Magaling pa yun.
Sandali po ba, ito ay Pinoy films to be shown globally. Tama ba?
No, this is American film. This will be done in English. So American film talaga siya.
Ang production mo is foreign, ano?
Foreign siya. Lahat ng staff niya, puro foreign ang kukunin niya talaga. Lahat. Writer, si Don Miller, the writer of Last Man Out, nag-meeting na kami sa States last month. Nagkwentuhan na kami. Malapit na matapos.
Freedom Fighters.
Hopefully, Freedom Fighters ang mauna. Ewan ko lang kung maunang matapos, pero mukhang maunang matapos kasi tapos na daw yung script ng Freedom Fighters. Pero I've spoken with Don Miller, the writer of The Last Man Out. Sabi niya matatapos yung script last week of December also. So mamimili lang sila ng director. Director na lang pinipili diyan. Ang napipisil niya sila Mel Gibson o Dean Devlin. Dean Devlin kasi pinili niya half Filipino yun.
Uy, isang relevant question. Masarap bang maging CESAR Montano?
Mahirap maging CESAR Montano. Actually, mahirap maging alone without Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, picture tayo.